Can words truly kill? It's a pretty chilling question, isn't it?
It really is.
Today, we're embarking on this extraordinary deep dive. It's a literary mystery, really, but one so tangled up with real-life tragedy
Yeah.
that the lines between a writer's fiction and actual suspicious deaths, they just completely blur.
That's exactly right. Our mission today is to try and untangle the book of murder. It's this narrative just loaded with competing truths, and these chilling coincidences.
Okay.
We'll be looking at two vastly different accounts of a series of suspicious deaths. And we're inviting you, our listener, to piece together what you think is fact, what's fiction, and what might just be, well, pure terrifying obsession.
It sounds like a puzzle.
It is. It's not just a story. It's a profound puzzle that really challenges our perception of cause and effect, human agency itself.
So where do we start? Luciana's call.
Yeah, let's start there. Luciana's desperate call really sets the stage for her terrifying reality.
Right. So the story opens, 10 years after this woman, Luciana. She abruptly left her job as a secretary for this famous writer, Kloster.
Mm-hmm.
She calls our narrator urgently, and her voice is weak, anxious, aged way beyond her years.
A huge contrast.
A total contrast, yeah, to the very pretty, confident, carefree girl the narrator remembers. It even reminds me of something Kloster himself wrote. He wrote, "The cruelest revenge upon a woman was to let 10 years pass before seeing her again." Feels almost prophetic here, doesn't it?
Chillingly so.
Yeah.
And Luciana sounds absolutely desperate.
She does.
And she is, profoundly so. Luciana is completely convinced that Kloster, this reclusive but now hugely famous writer, is systematically killing her family.
Systematically, wow.
Yes, slow, calculated acts of revenge. She believes it all stems from a sexual harassment lawsuit she filed against him years ago.
Okay.
She's not just scared, she feels trapped. Like a character, caught in this horrific plot, a real-life literary narrative that he is orchestrating.
That's an incredibly intense way to live. So let's dive into her first accusation then. Her boyfriend, Ramiro.
Right, Ramiro.
He drowned. Rough sea, after an argument with Luciana at a beach cafe. And this cafe, Kloster frequented it.
He did, nearby, yes. And Luciana actually ran to Kloster for help right after it happened.
Yeah.
He mysteriously vanished, just gone.
So she suspects...
Yeah, what exactly?
She suspects Kloster poisoned Ramiro's coffee.
What?
With some kind of undetectable substance that causes cramps or maybe arrhythmia, knowing Ramiro was a strong swimmer, so it would look like an accident.
Okay, if she's right, what does that theory suggest about the mind behind these alleged acts?
Well, the precision Luciana describes, an undetectable poison, targeting a strong swimmer specifically to make it look accidental.
Huh.
It speaks to a deeply calculated, almost artistic level of planning.
Like a performance.
Exactly. It's not just murder, it's a performance. It demands, specific knowledge of physiology, almost theatrical timing.
But here's the unsettling twist, perhaps. Luciana's own background is in biology. Her knowledge of such substances, her being with Ramiro constantly, it ironically creates this complex web of possibility around her specific theories.
So she could be imagining the how based on her own knowledge.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much is real? How much is her own terrifying narrative, her own expertise shaping her fear? It makes her account eerily specific.
And the tragedies didn't stop there, unfortunately.
No, they didn't.
Luciana's parents are next. They died from eating poisonous mushrooms. Amanita phalloids.
It's a death cap. Yeah, notoriously deadly.
And her mother was apparently an expert mushroom picker, always picked from the same safe spot in the woods.
Right, that's crucial.
So Luciana believes Kloster deliberately planted the fungi there. And get this, removed the distinguishing vulva, that little cup at the base.
The key identifier for that mushroom?
Exactly, to make it look like a tragic, unavoidable accident.
And what's just fascinating and deeply disturbing here is Luciana's own unwitting contribution to this idea. It's almost like she handed her the blueprint.
How so?
Well, she had previously told Kloster all these details about her family's mushroom picking tradition, their specific anniversary date, December 28th, even the dangers of Amanita phalloids.
When did she tell him this?
Critically, it was after he'd made her cut out a newspaper article about a similar poisoning incident.
No!
Yes. So it's as if Kloster, assuming he's the perpetrator, gathered every single piece of personal information, every vulnerability.
Weaponized it.
Exactly, weaponized it. It shows this chilling patience, meticulousness, using her own life details against her family.
That kind of manipulation is
Yeah.
Terrifying. Then her brother Bruno, a junior doctor,
Yeah, Bruno.
brutally murdered in his flat by a prison inmate who was somehow inexplicably released by guards just before.
Right. Highly suspicious circumstances around the release.
And the killer used bare hands and teeth, even gouged out his eyes.
Just savage. A really brutal attack.
And Luciana believes Kloster, with his, quote, precise calculating style, was behind this too. How?
She thinks he wrote anonymous letters, goading the killer on, detailing Bruno's affair with the inmate's wife, feeding the rage.
And the connection. Bruno was reading one of Kloster's novels on shift.
Yes. Another eerie detail she points to.
This feels like a huge escalation, though. The method is so different, not subtle at all.
Absolutely. It's a dramatic shift from, subtle poisonings or planted mushrooms. The sheer savagery of Bruno's death, bare hands, teeth, it suggests a much more visceral, raw violence.
But she still sees Kloster's hand in it.
She does, in the orchestration. The idea of him weaponizing information again, not just her life details, but real-world connections, the personal vendettas of others. It's chilling.
Pulling strings from the shadows.
Exactly. It implies a mind capable of not just plotting, but manipulating real people, leveraging their weaknesses, their rage, to achieve his own twisted form of justice. It forces us to consider how easily information becomes a weapon, right?
Yeah.
And how a manipulator can remain unseen.
And as if that wasn't enough, she finds a tangible clue.
The Bible.
Yes. Kloster returned her father's annotated Bible at their conciliation meeting after the lawsuit, marked at the Cain and Abel story. Specifically the verse, "Vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold."
Sevenfold.
Luciana connects this to 7-for-1 deaths, like a novel Kloster dictated to her about Cainite assassins, one he never published.
Okay, so if we connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests this premeditated, almost biblical scale of retribution in her mind.
A prophecy.
For Luciana, yeah, it's not just an accusation, it's a terrifying prophecy unfolding right before her eyes. A grand narrative Kloster has written for her family.
And she's currently afraid for her.
Her grandmother Kloster was apparently seen near her care home, and her sister, Valentina.
Why Valentina specifically?
Valentina strikingly resembles the young Luciana, the Luciana Kloster knew. And unsettlingly, Valentina is now reading Kloster's latest novel for school. Luciana is utterly convinced Valentina is next. It's not just fear, it's this conviction that she's trapped in a story where the ending is already written, and it's grim.
Okay. That's a horrifying perspective. Now let's pivot. Let's explore the counter-narrative. Kloster's intricate, equally compelling version of these same events.
Right. Because his story turns everything on its head.
He admits the lawsuit was a breaking point, right?
Oh, absolutely. He doesn't shy away from that.
He hired Luciana, he says, purely for her spelling and efficiency. He even explicitly states he wasn't attracted to her, and I'm quoting his account here, "She had no tits."
Crass, but that's his claim. Purely professional.
He says he was fond of her. His daughter Polly adored her. His writing flourished with her there.
A productive period.
But then, he claims, Luciana began sending signals, showing him a scar, letting him massage her neck, sometimes without a bra.
Okay, so here we have it. Whose narrative of seduction and intent do we believe? It's a classic he said, she said, but with incredibly high stakes.
Kloster describes this shift from professional fondness to a situation he felt Luciana orchestrated, which led to his impulsive, he called it euphoric, attempt to kiss her while dictating a particularly violent scene from his novel.
Right, so from his perspective, he was led on, provoked even, and then unjustly punished for a moment of weakness he claims she engineered. It's all about perception and framing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Then Luciana's accusation of sexual harassment in the lawsuit letter. Kloster claims his wife, Mercedes, seized upon it. He describes her as already unstable.
Okay, so he introduces another layer of the wife's instability.
Yes. He says Mercedes had always been jealous of the bond between him and their daughter, Polly, and she used Luciana's letter as grounds to file for divorce and, crucially, get a court order separating him from Polly. He describes their marriage using this term from the game Go, a co-position, like a precarious, repetitive stalemate. He believed Polly's entire life depended on maintaining this fragile balance.
Which Luciana's actions, according to him, shattered.
Utterly destroyed it, yes.
What's fascinating here is Kloster's portrayal of his wife. I mean, a woman who rejected her baby, sought ways for Polly to injure herself, became obsessed with separating them. This context dramatically reframes Luciana's lawsuit.
How so?
Well, it's not just a single incident anymore, is it? It becomes the match thrown into an already highly volatile situation. For Kloster, Luciana's actions didn't just cause him a personal slight or a professional problem. They shattered the delicate balance holding his life together and unleashed his wife's pre-existing instability.
With devastating consequences.
Exactly. Consequences he squarely blames Luciana for triggering.
And the ultimate tragedy, from Kloster's perspective, his daughter Polly,
Little Polly, 4 years old.
drowned in the bath. His wife Mercedes claimed she'd been drinking and fell asleep.
But the forensic report
Showed Polly had a hematoma, a bruise basically, or a blood clot, suggesting she might have slipped and hit her head. An accident.
But Kloster doesn't believe it was an accident.
No. He believes Mercedes deliberately arranged the scene, knowing he would be the one to find them. And he believes Luciana's letter broke their unspoken pact, their fragile stalemate that kept Polly safe.
Wow. His grief, he says, was absolute. When you hold your dead child in your arms, everything changes.
That's incredibly powerful. And he specifically said he wanted Luciana to remember Polly's death daily.
That's a dark motivation, a dangerous one.
It really is.
And this is the absolute pivotal moment in his narrative, isn't it? It connects Luciana's initial actions, Mercedes' instability, and Polly's tragic death. From Kloster's perspective, Luciana bears this indirect yet profound culpability.
He sees her as the catalyst.
Precisely. The catalyst for his ultimate loss. And that intense grief, that desire for her to remember, it seems to shift his entire worldview. It transforms him, as he claims, from just a writer into something else, something darker.
It's a classic revenge narrative, but told from the Avenger side.
Exactly. Where the initial wrong, perceived or real, justifies every subsequent dark act, or at least every dark thought he chronicles.
And this is where Kloster's narrative takes that truly chilling, almost supernatural turn.
Yeah, this is where it gets really strange.
He claims the deaths that followed Polly's. They were either just bizarre coincidences or, even more unsettlingly, the work of some primitive, superior evil that was dictating his novel.
Dictating his novel.
Yeah. He started writing a secret novel right after Polly died about proportionate punishment.
So this isn't just an excuse, is it? It feels like a radical shift in his whole belief system.
It seems like it.
It's a profound transformation, really. Kloster, who is apparently a fervent atheist, now talks in these almost religious terms, this dark, unknown God dictating his work.
How does he explain that?
He tries to explain this horrifying synchronicity, the way real events mirrored his writing, without taking direct personal responsibility. He even compares it to Henry James using typists, but with this incredibly sinister twist. He's just a scribe, you see, for this malevolent force.
So he's essentially saying, I didn't do it, but I wrote it down, and then it happened.
Exactly. It's this chilling abdication of agency. Or maybe, a very twisted, elaborate justification.
So how does he apply this collaboration theory to Luciana's family tragedies? Let's take Romero's death.
Okay, Romero. Kloster saw that as a sign from on high.
Yeah.
A symmetry, he called it.
Symmetry.
Yeah. Polly drowned in a bath. Romero drowned in the sea, which he called God's bathtub. He saw it as an eye for an eye.
And that gave him the idea for his secret novel.
That's his claim. That tragic symmetry sparked the novel about proportionate punishment.
Okay. What about the parents, the mushrooms?
This is where the synchronicity gets even deeper and, frankly, creepier. Kloster claims he had written a scene about parents dying of a natural death. In his fictional version, it was a carbon monoxide leak.
Okay.
The day before, Luciana's parents actually died from the mushroom poisoning.
The day before.
The day before. He first thought it was just a mysterious prompt from his own revenge fantasies, then maybe a statistical coincidence. But then, he started to internalize it. He began to believe he, meaning this dark force, or maybe his own subconscious enacting the revenge, had devised it.
So he saw his fiction manifesting in reality.
Actively.
Yes, actively. It's incredibly unsettling.
And Bruno, the brother's murder.
He claims he'd written an improbable death for the brother character in his secret novel, only for a much bolder, crueler version, the real version, to actually happen.
Bolder and crueler than his fiction.
Yeah. And the real method, the savage, primitive, barehanded attack, he says, it bore his stamp, meaning the stamp of this dark force or his own dictated narrative.
He sees reality improving on his fictional violence.
In a twisted way, yes. An escalation of the revenge that he claims he merely observed and documented as it was dictated to him. It just completely blurs the line between author and spectator, doesn't it?
Terrifyingly so. Yeah. It suggests the narrative itself has become almost sentient, actively influencing reality. He even suggests Luciana herself, might be suffering from morbid guilt, subconsciously punishing herself by perceiving these events as his doing, when really they're just unfolding according to this dark plan.
And Luciana's grandmother, the fire.
Another chilling parallel, according to Kloster. He was apparently planning a murder scene set in a care home for his novel. He wrote a scene involving a natural death. That very same afternoon, Luciana's grandmother died in a real fire. It started in an antique shop below her nursing home.
The same day she wrote about it.
The same afternoon. And Kloster's comment on it is, well, he says about this dark force, he didn't wait for the scene to be fully written and finished.
Wow. It implies this kind of horrific, almost divine dictation, like the story is writing itself into existence.
It really does, even before he finished typing it, almost.
The story outpaced the writer.
Exactly. This collaboration theory, it becomes Kloster's entire framework for understanding the world after Polly's death. It's his way of coping, maybe, or deflecting guilt. He posits he's just the conduit, the transcriber.
So the deaths aren't his fault?
Not in his narrative, no. They are written, preordained by this other force, and he's just the unlucky soul tapped to chronicle the unfolding retribution. It's a compelling self-justification, isn't it? But absolutely terrifying. And it forces you to question everything about inspiration, creativity, and the mind.
Okay. So our narrator, he's caught between these two powerful, completely contradictory stories. What does he do?
Well, he tries to find some answers. He was initially pretty skeptical, remember? He'd even written a nasty article attacking Kloster years ago.
Right. Contemptible, he called it.
So his first step is practical. He dives into the newspaper archives to fact-check Luciana's claims.
And what does he find?
It's intriguing. Ramiro's drowning. Reported, yes, but as an accident. Due to cold and cramps. No mention of Luciana being there or any suspicion.
Right.
The mushroom poisoning is reported too, also as an accident. It even notes the detached vulva and the possibility of wind-carried spores. But again, no names mentioned, no hint of foul play.
And Bruno's murder.
That was a huge public scandal, the inmate released, the brutality. But nothing in the reports about anonymous letters goading the killer on.
So the official records seem to support
the accident theory, largely. Or at least they align more with Kloster's dismissals of direct involvement.
Yeah.
Yet the sheer number of patterns, the way Luciana's specific fears echoed real events, it keeps the narrator and us completely unsettled. His skepticism starts to fray around the edges when faced with these eerie synchronicity.
So to try and understand this pattern versus randomness idea, he does an experiment.
Yeah, a simple but quite profound one. He tosses a coin 100 times.
And
he finds these amazingly true sequences, 5, 6, even 7 heads or tails in a row, just pure chance producing what looks like a pattern. It makes him seriously question his own disbelief in randomness.
Because Kloster had mocked him about that, right?
Exactly. Kloster had said he didn't understand that chance, too, has its forms and runs.
Okay, so this coin toss, it's an aha moment.
It really is.
Yeah.
For the narrator, and I think for you, the listener, too, it powerfully illustrates Kloster's point. It forces us to confront how much our brains want to find patterns, to construct narratives, even where there's only random chance.
We impose order.
We need to impose order, yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's an illusion. It offers this rational explanation for events that seem orchestrated. Maybe it is all just terrible luck, terrible coincidence.
But just as he finds this kind of peace in randomness,
the universe throws another curveball.
A literal curveball of fire, almost.
Yeah, fires start happening.
The narrator witnesses a furniture store fire himself. Then he reads about 2 more. Then 3 more fires, all in furniture stores across Buenos Aires. All started with petrol.
And there's even a suspect identified.
Yes, vaguely. A Chinese man on a bicycle. But the coincidence just seems too strong, especially because it reminds the narrator of this old acquaintance who used to joke about burning furniture stores as some kind of artistic statement.
So just as he's finding comfort in the chaos of randomness, this happens. What does this do to his understanding and ours?
Well, it completely challenges that newfound acceptance of chance, doesn't it? The Chinese man explanation gives a mundane, rational reality for these specific fires, maybe.
But the pattern.
Exactly. The sudden escalation, the very specific focus on furniture stores. It makes you wonder, is the universe itself mocking the idea of pure randomness now? Is it deliberately mirroring Kloster's artistic provocations or Luciana's deep-seated fears about patterns?
It's like the world won't let him settle on an explanation.
Right. It leaves us, just like the narrator, swinging wildly between rational explanation and this unnerving possibility of some deeper, hidden influence at play.
You just can't pin it down.
You can't. So despite all his lingering doubts, the narrator agrees to do something pretty risky. He agrees to bring Kloster to Luciana's apartment.
Why? Why does he do that?
He says he does it partly to appease Luciana, who's becoming increasingly frantic, and partly, maybe, to force a confrontation, to see if Kloster will finally confess, or at least offer her some kind of peace.
A final attempt at resolution.
Yeah. But it doesn't go as planned.
No. The atmosphere in the apartment, you can only imagine how tense it was. Thick with all these unresolved accusations, this palpable fear.
And that?
And then in a final desperate act, Luciana jumps from her top-floor apartment window.
Oh, God.
Her note, found nearby, it just says, "At least let her be saved."
Let her be saved, meaning Valentina.
Presumably her sister, yes. It's heartbreaking and profoundly shocking. It forces us right back to the core question. Was this an act of self-sacrifice, a final attempt to break the perceived curse on her sister?
Or was she pushed in some final chilling twist?
The ambiguity is just absolute right there. We simply don't know.
And it only deepens with what happens immediately after, doesn't it?
It really has.
The narrator sees Valentina, Luciana's sister, and she's described as a perfect recovered image of Luciana exactly as she was at 18.
The spitting image of the young woman Kloster knew.
And Kloster, standing calmly over Luciana's body on the pavement below, he appears to be consoling Valentina.
Okay.
And then, in this truly unsettling moment, the narrator observes him admiring her. And Kloster says she, Valentina, is the one person for whom I've been able to feel anything since Polly died. The one who's brought me back to life.
Wow. Okay, that detail is just crucial, isn't it? What does this sudden love or obsession or whatever it is for Valentina, who looks so much like young Luciana, but, as the text notes, with a pronounced curve of her breasts, what does that cast over his entire narrative?
It casts this profound shadow over everything he said, right?
Absolutely. His sudden, intense emotional response to Valentina, seeing her as the sort of replacement for Polly, maybe, yet also explicitly admiring her physical resemblance to the young Luciana he might have desired.
It's
deeply, deeply unsettling.
raises so many questions.
So many. Does he see her as a new muse, a new victim? Is this the next twisted phase of his supposed revenge? The narrator's observation is just stark. Kloster might just as easily have been a proud father looking at his beautiful daughter, or a man enthralled to his new love.
And then the chilling addition.
That all the monsters in history have kept a place and person for their tender feelings. It just leaves you questioning Kloster's sanity, his intentions, the very nature of evil itself. Is this just infatuation born of grief, or is it a continuation of a much darker, calculated narrative? We just don't know.
And Kloster himself, he just dismisses any need for an investigation into Luciana's death.
Yeah, brushes it off completely, claims it's clear what happened, insists she wasn't pushed.
And sticks to his story.
Absolutely. He insists he merely wrote his novel, that his punishment, the narrative's punishment, is written, and it no longer depends on me. He almost seems to mock the narrator for wanting answers, for wanting to turn him into some kind of Superman mastermind instead of just a murderer, perhaps.
So even in this final dramatic moment,
he clings to his denial, blames that external force, the dictation of his novel. Yet his actions, the intense reaction to Valentina, the quick dismissal of the investigation, the claim that the punishment is written, it all suggests a deeper, more personal involvement than he admits.
the ambiguity remains.
It's absolutely key. Is he a calculating murderer? A madman consumed by grief and delusion? Or somehow a prophet of this unfolding, horrifying narrative? The story just refuses to give us a clear answer. It leaves it entirely for us, for you, the listener, to decide.
So this deep dive really leaves us, the listener, with these two incredibly powerful yet completely contradictory narratives, doesn't it?
It really does.
You have Luciana utterly convinced she's just a character in Kloster's horrifying, real-life plot, destined for this tragic end.
And then you have Kloster, claiming to be nothing more than the scribe, the channel for this malevolent dictating force that just happens to mirror his fiction, thereby absolving himself of any direct responsibility.
Yeah. So what does this all mean for you, the learner, listening to this?
That's the big question, isn't it? Do you find yourself believing in the cold, hard facts? Coincidence? Maybe severe mental illness brought on by trauma, providing a rational, if tragic, explanation for this series of grim accidents?
No.
Or do you lean towards the other possibility? The chilling, almost magical power of a narrative that somehow takes on a life of its own, turning fiction into terrifying reality.
We're left grappling with this idea of narrative as destiny.
Exactly. If a writer creates a story and then real-world events unfold to perfectly match it, does that make the writer a god, a murderer, or just a particularly unlucky or perceptive observer of strange coincidences?
When does a story become a weapon? And who's truly wielding it?
Perhaps the ultimate unsettling thought here is that sometimes the truth isn't just one single narrative. Maybe it's the terrifying intersection of several conflating stories, leaving us to forever question where reality ends and the story begins.
And perhaps that lingering uncertainty, that ambiguity.
Maybe that's precisely what Kloster, the writer, intended all along.